Hey friends, my name's Adam, and we are here to kick off this Esther series. And like you've heard about, this is a great story, and I hope you're going to take the challenge and read along with us. But we are going to try to tell the story as best we can from week to week. And in order to help us, we've invited a few of our student pastors to come and kind of give a modern interpretation to this story that you can find in the Old Testament of the Bible. So I want to introduce everybody to Emily Locker, one of our student pastors from our Chandler campus. What's up, Emily?
Hello.
Hi, Emily. We're gonna get rolling. She's gonna tell the story, and I'm gonna do my very best to keep up with her as she tells the story by maybe illustrating with some fun things. Let's go, Emily.
Let's go. Once upon a time, in a land far, far away, there was this king named Xerxes. Now, Xerxes was a king who lived a lavish lifestyle. Dude had some serious riz, and he liked to do things big.
I like to do it big.
Like real big.
Like real big.
In his third year as king, he threw this bussin' party. The party lasted, wait for it, 180 days. We're talking endless Chick-fil-A nug platters, all you can drink prime energy drinks, and there were probably a few celebs there. This party was insane. Well, at the end of this party, the king got into a fight with his queen, Vashti. I won't go into all the detail, but let's just say the king had one too many prime energy drinks, and the queen wasn't happy with the king. The fight escalated to the point where the king took away the queen's crown and decided to start a search for a new queen. The party basically turned into an episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Here's how the king searched for his new queen. He sent out his trusted friends into his kingdom to find potential women that could be his queen. Once the king's friends found a group of women, they entered them into a competition to be queen. Weird, right? It was like a medieval version of The Bachelorette. Here enters our main character, Esther. When the king's friends were in search for a new queen, they met a man named Mordecai. Mordecai had a cousin named Esther, and he entered her into the competition to be queen. Throughout the course of the competition, Esther turned on the Riz and won the affection of the king. And guess what? She became the new queen. However, there was one small problem. Esther had a relationship with God, and well, the king didn't. Because she had faith in God, it placed her in a dangerous position. Nonetheless, she didn't back down from the crown and still entered into a new place of influence.
Oh, that was fun. Thank you guys for dialing into that. Thank Emily for telling us the story. We're gonna do that every week. You get a chance to see just snippets of Esther's life. But if I'm being honest with you, sometimes I wish we could see more of Esther's life because this lady had it going on. She had an incredible, extraordinary story. And I hope you take the challenge to read this story along with us. I hope you take that seriously because I really believe you're gonna get something huge out of it. But I kind of want more. Sometimes when I think about Esther's story, I'm like, dude, this whole life, this amazing, incredible life was reduced to under 6,000 words. I mean, that doesn't seem like a lot. You could probably read it in under 45 minutes. Good news for you, easy to read. Kind of like a bummer though for such an influential, incredible story of a life that was so impactful, right? But I started thinking about that. I started thinking, you know what though? That's a little bit like our life, isn't it? We don't always think of every single moment as memorable, do we? We just kind of live our life in these bursts of moments. Let me give you an example. How many of you out there have ever been to Disneyland? Raise your hands. Disneyland people, happiest place on earth, right? Oh, it's so great. Disneyland is a great day, and if you've ever spent a day there, you know exactly why. But if you were spending the day at Disneyland, and I just randomly called you, hey, you're at the happiest place on earth. What are you doing right now? You'd say, dude, I'm waiting in line. And I say, okay, I'll call you back later. And then I'd call you back later, and I'd be like, what are you doing now? You're like, dude, I'm waiting in line for another ride. And I'd be like, okay, man, call you back later. And I'd call you back, and I'd say, what are you doing now? You're like, dude, I'm in the bathroom. I ate a turkey leg. Right? Your day may not be made up of perfect moments, but when you come home from Disneyland And I'm like, hey dude, how was your time at Disney? You know what you're gonna tell me? Oh my goodness, it was the best! I had the best time. I rode the Star Wars ride. I got a lightsaber. It was awesome. Why? Because our minds trick us into thinking that an experience that was like long and kind of boring at times actually was awesome, because we start focusing on the moments that made the day awesome. You know what I'm talking about? That's how our life is. It's like highs and lows and highs and lows. You really don't want life to be right here, right? Like think of a heart monitor. You know how it goes up and down? If it goes just straight in the middle, you're dead. Not a good thing. But you go up and you down, and those are the moments that you remember. Like I remember a game-winning base hit that I had when I played baseball back when I was in junior high. We were in a tournament and we were in the championship game, and there was 2 outs, of course, and I was at the plate and I literally got the game-winning hit. Super highlight of my junior high baseball career. But you know what else I remember about my life? I remember the time that I totally forgot how to pronounce the girl's name on the phone whose number I got earlier. And I was like, oh, I'm in trouble now. Not my finest moment, right? Here's the deal. We live our lives through these moments. Esther is an awesome example of a lady who saw her moments and crushed like every one of them. And throughout this series, what we're gonna do, we're gonna look at Esther's life and we're gonna examine the moments that made her life so significant. Then we're gonna say, man, how can I live like that? As someone who wants to be a Christ-centered difference maker, how can I make my moments count like Esther did? That's where we're going in this series. And I can't wait for you to jump in with us. And I have a sneaking suspicion that a lot of you already know kind of how to make your moments the best ever, because you live your life through moments. You know how to make the test, that moment of the test, you know how you have to crush that moment. How do you do it? You study. How do you make the moment when you're on the free throw line and the game's coming down to 2 points and you've got to take the shot? How do you make that moment? Make sure you own it. Well, you practice. And you don't practice right now. No. You've been practicing for months. You've been taking 100 extra free throws every practice to make sure you're ready for your moment. Preparation makes all the difference when it comes to having our moment and making the absolute most of it. You know, Esther and her story, it was a wild story, and I'm not sure you kept up with every single thing. So let me just go over one section of it. This girl was kind of an outsider, but she was very pretty. Beautiful even. And she got entered in a beauty contest to see if maybe, just maybe, she could be the new queen. Now that's a pretty wild way to pick a queen, but hey, it worked. And here's the trick. Every single girl who entered into this contest knew they were gonna get at least one opportunity in front of King Xerxes. What a sweet name, by the way, Xerxes. They were gonna get their shot. So what did those girls do before they went to meet the king? You're gonna like this. In Esther chapter 2, verse 12, it tells you exactly what they did to prepare for the thing they knew was coming. It says that before a young lady was to go into King Xerxes, she had to spend 12 months in beauty treatments. 12 months in beauty treatments. The first 6 months she had to work with oil of myrrh, whatever that means. And the next ones she was working with perfumes and cosmetics. 12 months, 1 year. How hot would you be if you had 12 straight months of beauty treatments? This is what Esther did to prepare for her moment in front of the king. And you guys, she didn't know how it was gonna go. She didn't know what the king was gonna think. She didn't know how the king was going to react. And she did not know if the king was gonna make her the queen. But she did know this. She was prepared for her moment. And you've been there too. You've been in a spot where you knew how to make the most of your moment. And whether or not you prepared yourself could have just made all of the difference. But let me ask you a question. Do we take our responsibility as a Christ-centered difference maker as seriously as we take our moment of passing a test, or our moment on stage of executing that perfect dance move, or that part you have to sing in your choir, or on the field making the goal? Do you have the same level of preparation for being a Christ-centered difference maker? So, for example, when someone comes to you and they ask you a question about what you believe, about Jesus, are you prepared with an answer? Or let's talk about like temptation. When someone offers you something that you could put in your body, like a substance, a drink, something that you know you probably shouldn't do, how are you gonna handle that moment? Are you prepared? Or what about this? People are making fun of you because you believe something that not everybody does, and your life looks a little different, and maybe some people don't like that, and they're making fun of you. How do you handle that moment? Are you prepared for that moment? You know, in my life, when I was in junior high, I knew to my core that I wanted to be a Christ-centered difference maker. I knew that I wanted to make an impact on those around me and represent Jesus to everyone who I came into contact with. That was my heart. And I was at a friend's house for a birthday party. It was like one of those sleepover things. We had a whole campsite in the backyard set up, trampoline, all kinds of fun stuff we were gonna be doing all night long. It was awesome. Then when the parents went to bed and we're just kind of screwing around, playing on the trampoline or whatever, one guy opened a backpack and out came these magazines that were full of pictures of naked women, porn. And they start passing them around. And I'm like, sweet baby Moses. What am I supposed to do here? Because I know who I am. And I know that's not what I want to be a part of. So the magazines start getting passed around and they're coming towards me. And I just said, no, I'm good. And my buddy was like, what? Come on. I was like, no, I don't want that. And I just rejected it 3 times. And do you know what happened? They made fun of me. They made fun of me because I was lame and I was a goofball and I was not like them and whatever else. And then they made fun of me for a couple more days after that. It was also kind of what guys do, so I didn't mind that much, but it wasn't the easiest choice to make. So fast forward though, a couple years, I'm with the same group of guys, almost identical in fact. And we're a little older now, so instead of like bouncing on trampolines, we're actually like drinking Mountain Dew and playing cards and video games and all this stuff. And wouldn't you know, the night gets late enough and the same stinking guy opens his backpack. Same exact thing happened. He starts passing out magazines full of porn. And he looked across at me and he said, don't worry, man, I got you. And he reached in his bag and he threw me a magazine. And I was like, it was a sports magazine. Because he knew who I was and what I wanted to be a part of. And it wasn't what everybody else wanted to be a part of. Look, I don't know if my decision not to look at porn with those guys that night made any difference in the world to them. But I know it made a difference to me. Because I know that I represented Jesus in that moment, and those guys knew it too. To the point where 2 years later, I had another moment that would never have happened if it wasn't for the moment 2 years earlier when I decided to take a stand for something and make a moment and a memory that would last forever. Those guys respected my choice, they respected my decision, and to be honest, we were friends for the rest of high school. No big deal, because they respected the stance that I had made. You guys, when your moment comes to show that you are a Christ-centered difference maker, are you gonna be ready for it? When somebody asks you a question, when somebody gives you a temptation, when somebody gives you a hard time, are you gonna be ready for it? Look, I don't know what it looks like in your life specifically right now, but let me just offer a couple suggestions of ways that this might work in your life. First, maybe, just maybe, you need to spend a little more time reading from the Bible so you know what God says and how to live. Maybe that would help you with an answer someday to a question that you didn't even know someone was going to ask you. Maybe you need to take a moment and look around in your school cafeteria for the kid that maybe is being picked on. And you need to make a moment happen when you know, like, this kid doesn't have the friends that I have, this kid's a loner, and I'm gonna go reach out and just hang with them for lunch today because they need a friend. Are you gonna be ready for a moment like that? You could if you would prepare your mind right now. Those are two really simple things that you can do. But for you, I want you to spend some time with your coaches and your groups and maybe brainstorm a little bit. How can you prepare so that when your moment of opportunity comes as a Christ-centered difference maker, you can be ready. You can be ready like Esther, who didn't know how her story was gonna end, but was absolutely certain she was gonna be prepared for it. You can do the exact same thing. I can't wait for you to jump into the rest of this series with us. I can't wait for you to read Esther along with us because I truly believe God is gonna challenge each and every one of us out there. Let's go prepare ourselves to be Christ-centered difference makers.